How's it going, everyone? I am Dylan. This is Braiden. That's my cousin Carlo. This is All You Can Board, and this is our annual top 50 board games of all time, where we take the lists we've done previously, we amend them, we add games to them, we boot some games off, we update them to be our current, board game loves, and now we even have a brand new person doing the third top 50 for the first time. Braiden's been with us for almost a year now, and this is going to be your first top 50 video. How do you feel?
I feel like I'm under scrutiny right now. Like
Lots of scrutiny.
The looking glass? No, what is it called?
Microscope?
No, not microscope. Magnifying
glasses. Yeah, it could be the microscope.
Micro, right?
I was thinking that too. Already nervous, so nervous.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to share. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of even last minute changes last night. Doing some minor adjustments. Like, I know this has to go here.
Yeah.
So I think I feel good about it, but I'm sure I'm going to regret it.
Awesome. Yeah. And so just so you guys know out there, this one you're obviously watching right now, and it should be, if as I'm recording this, if everything goes to plan with editing, this should be coming out on December 22nd. And then every single video after this will come out every 2 days. We did the similar last year, so we skipped Christmas, things like that. So it should all be done by December 30th, ideally. But either way, even if the dates are slightly off when you watch this, it will be every 2 days. We're also implementing for spots 50 to 21. We're going to implement a 1-minute timer for each game. And that's for one, so these videos don't end up being like, an hour and a half long each because we have a third person on camera now, but also just to try to give us something new to kind of tackle here. We have to try to be more concise. We have to explain a game in 1 minute. The reason we're limiting it to those is because we know that our top 20 board games of all time is where a lot of people's attention always goes. This happens for all the channels on YouTube, so we want to not put those restrictions on us for those, give us some more time to talk about those games. And it's just extra special sometimes when those games make those top 20 spots. We feel like we don't want to hold ourselves to only being able to talk about them for a minute if we have something really special to say. There is one more thing I'm supposed to talk. Oh, of course.
Yep.
The Patreon. Yeah. So if you are a patron, we filmed a predictions video where we all gave some predictions on each person's picks. So if you're a patron, that'll be up right now. You can go watch that before you watch this video. It's a short, 7 to 8 minute video, and you can see what we all think on some really bold predictions. For at least some of us are bold, some of us are very specific too. So you'll be able to, maybe even in this video, you'll be able to say whether Braiden, for instance, got something right or wrong, because I think some of you are still into this spot right now.
It's true.
Yeah. That being said, I am going to kick this off. I'm going to make sure I remember what my number 50 is. I'm correct. And I'm going to put this timer here. Braiden, you're going to have to watch the timer for me because I'm going to try not to look at it. And let's start the timer whenever we say the name of the game, just so that okay.
I like it.
Okay. So my number 50 board game of all time is Equinox. And so Equinox is making this list because I have played it more since we started playing it with the physical version. When I played it on BGA, and I also played the physical version again. And I just realized that the more I've played the game, the more I've come to enjoy it. I don't know that it's ever going to climb much higher than this. It might just dabble in the list, then go out again next year. Who knows? But I just think it really deserved this spot. I was happy to see that that's where Pub Meeple, when I did my rankings, put it, because it's a rider community game and it does a lot of unique things that not a lot of other board games do. Like a lot of times I can pick mechanics and say, oh, this is like this is like this. And while that's the case for some stuff in Equinox, it does feel like a really unique experience as a board game. And I just think that it's hard to accomplish that sometimes in the board game space, to come up with something that's wholly unique, or just like, oh, I don't know a lot of games that have done that before. And the way that you have to, I'm already not gonna be able to explain the game for 10 seconds left. But if you want to, it's a game about monsters, and my timer's running up. It's Equinox. It's Kinesia. It's great. Go check it out.
It's a game about monsters. It is true. One of the many in the board game space.
This is already a great idea.
Equinox is great. Go check it out. That's
love this pick for you because I didn't see it coming, but it is a great game that I want to play a lot more with you guys.
Yeah.
It is good. It's really, really good.
Number 50 game of all time. All right.
Number 50 game of all time is Captain Sonar, real-time submarine ship. Yeah, okay. Some big reactions early on. This is a game that I traditionally had pretty high when I was doing my initial rankings last year. And I haven't played it. I haven't played it since I think 2017 or 2018. It's been so long. I think it may climb up if I get another play on it, but I think it still deserves a spot. Real time, it has electricity throughout the air every time that I felt that I played it. I mean, the one time I played it. But it's phenomenal. If you played Battleship before, I like to equate it to real-time Battleship, but 4v4 or 3v3 on teams. So that real-time element to it, lots of tension in that battle. The only issue is that you have to have 8 people exactly. So that's my number 50 game of all time. Captain Sonar. I'm not even thinking.
I will say that I thought this was going to be higher in your list, but I'm like, either way, I knew it was going to be on there. But I agree that the barrier is that like you can play with less than 8, but 8 is like the proper Captain Sonar experience. Yeah.
I also expected this to be much higher for you.
Yeah. But I guess if you haven't played it in like 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't I recommend it on the gift guide too? Yeah. It's great.
It is great.
All games on
I played it with Braiden the time he's talking about it. It was great.
Yeah.
All right, one thing I just want to mention real quick. I have 9 games on my top 50 that were not on the top 50 last year.
Ooh, I thought it was even more
9
than
new
that.
games crashing into the top. Well, a lot of them are pretty high up, though.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. All right, my number 50 game of all time, dropping 5 spots from last year, is a game called Dune Imperium. So this is a great game. I've had a lot of fun playing this. Obviously, mainly a worker placement game with some deck building. I absolutely love the way that the cards that you play determine which spots on the board you can go to. I love the kind of the intrigue cards that you hold and the way that you can kind of have these secrets and you look over and someone's got 4 intrigue cards in their hand going into this conflict and you have no idea if they're actually going to play them or not. I like that kind of like the unknown and the tension. I like games that have some secret information like that where people are holding cards because then you're always second guessing your decisions. The only reason why this hasn't gone up my list and why I'm rarely the one suggesting it, I think is my main complaint about the game is still the fact that I don't really like how many points usually come from just moving up the faction tracks. It's a little bit unsatisfying to me sometimes when I look and I see the person who won got like 4 or 5 points from that, or like you take an action to get water and the next round you take water again and now you've got a point suddenly. Like, I don't know, I just want them to be a little more hard-earned, but great game.
Wow, well done. Look at that, 59.96. That was awesome. Dune Imperium is so good. I thought for some reason, I didn't know that it was going to move up your list, but I didn't think it would drop. But I guess 5 spots is like, that's not.
Yeah.
Like,
A lot of the games that have dropped on my list are just because too many other games moved up or entered the list for the first time. So
that's fair. All right, number 49 on my list. And you know what? I realized in one thing I forgot to do in this whole planning and realizing like moving things around my list is I don't verbally know how many spots my games drop. So it's going to be on the graphics you've seen on screen for each game.
You can prepare for the 40 to whatever
True,
rest
yeah.
of the
So
list.
you'll
Give
see
me
on
a
the
couple
graphics.
minutes off camera.
But I'm fairly certain that this game was not on my list last year. But I could be wrong. I'm not certain at all. Number 49 is Wavelength. So Wavelength, I played a lot this year, and it was always either Carlo's copy or it is now available in digital version on your phone, which is actually a really good implementation. Wavelength is on here because the more I've played it, the more I've just come to appreciate that it is the type of game that every collection should have. A game where you split into teams. It's not reliant on one person kind of like taking all the responsibility on whether the team wins or loses, or whether they have to like fully understand the rules or not. It's just able to kind of be a discussion game. And so the discussion that comes from trying to guess where on the scale they've put this between something like hot or cold, which is always the example I use. But there's way more interesting cards in there. It's a ride every single time. It's a great with like people you've been friends with for a while. It's great with like coworkers. It's great with people that you're just starting to get to know. It's a great icebreaker. It's a game I now either want to own my own copy of, or if I'm not going to own my own copy, I'll at least keep playing the digital version. Wavelength is super good. That's my number 49.
Yeah, this is a tremendous icebreaker for sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it was in your top 50 last year.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
All right. Well, surprisingly, my number 49 is also not Wavelength. It's Ethnos.
Oh, nice.
Ethnos is my number 49 game. We played that this year here, I believe. And Ethnos, to me, I think I really found I loved how the game ended. There's a lot of tension in it. There is the picking where your battles and where you want to be and how long you're going to continue pulling cards or playing cards because you get rid of your hand. I really like that back and forth between it. And honestly, I don't mind the art, actually. I think that like I'm definitely in the minority, for sure. But Ethnos I've really enjoyed. I think it's kind of it's not necessarily a sleeper hit, but I think it's
it doesn't get talked about tons.
I've really enjoyed it. I think it's a fantastic game. You just where you're choosing to pick those battles is so key. not really trying to be sneaky and like be like, oh, I'm going to be over here.
Yeah.
They're going to fight for those points over here. I'm going to clean up over
Yeah.
here, right? That's great.
Yeah, and there's just so many, like the combinations of races you can have in the game, like all the fantasy races that are in the game. Like there's 12 in total, each game has 6, and so I've still never seen certain combinations. I probably never will see certain combinations. Every game has something unique that it offers, which is, I just love it.
Yeah, this was on my top 50 2 years ago in the 40 to 50 range, but it slipped off last year, and I don't think I've played it in a year or two now, so I need to get it back to the table, but I really like this game, and it could get into my top 50 in the future, actually.
You should get the new version.
The Archaeos Society? I don't know. It's got tracks instead of a board with area. It's just a lot. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's play it and we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's me now.
Yeah.
My number 49 game, dropping 8 spots, and I know I'm going to get a hard time for this from Dylan, is Azul.
Oh.
So, again, this is the only reason why this has really dropped, I think, is just it's a victim of a lot of other games. Like, a lot of these games that you're going to hear, especially in this range, are dropping. Some of them are dropping a lot more than others. Still a great game, still one that I enjoy playing, the physical version and on BGA. I guess it doesn't really feel quite as much as of a like go-to game as it used to. Now it feels more like something that when other people suggest it, I'm always down. But I just can't remember the last time that I like pulled Azul off the shelf or had people over and said like we should play Azul. I think that's why it's kind of getting close to slipping off the list. But you know, especially when we like started the channel a couple years or a few years ago now, I guess it was like one of my absolute favorite games, and it's something that I think, you know, as I get older and start playing maybe more like family games at home and stuff like that, I might see it kind of like get back into the rotation more. So fantastic game, a classic. If for some reason you haven't tried it, it's a must try for everyone, I think.
Yeah, I think it's not a spoiler to say it's on my list somewhere. It's a surprise to me that it's always like so high or to the verge of slipping off, because to me anyways, it's now entered into that like classic status, like where like I don't know that it'll ever fully leave my list, because it seems like all it takes is me to have 1 or 2 plays of it. I'm like, oh right, this game's amazing, and then it just like reinvigorates it for me. But I know that that's all like it's not like that for everybody, but that's kind of where it's reached for me. If I play one game on BGA or one game in person, suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, it's still good.
That's fair. And I think you have tended over the last couple of years to play more games with like newer players, so I think it comes to the table for you more often. Whereas like, when was the last time we played Azul together? Like 4 years ago or something, like 3, like
Other than Queen's Card.
yes,
Yeah, different versions.
yes.
Yeah.
To the original.
The third best Azul.
Okay, my number 48, right? 48 was on my list last year. You'll see on the lower third here how many spots it's dropped, because it has dropped, and that is Everdell. Everdell's still holding on to spot on this list. I just still think that Everdell is such a beautiful game when it's all set up. Like, even if you take the Evertree out of it or whatever, I just think that artwork-wise, component-wise, it's such a beautiful game. And I think it's also such an accessible game. It's one that I've had so many people who don't play board games, they don't even know what it's about, see it on my shelf, and I'm like, oh, what do you want to play? And they pull it out and they're like, oh, this one looks good. And I'm like, I would love to play that, but like, you've just told me you barely play board games. Like, this will still take some time to explain and stuff like that, but it's that kind of inviting feel to it, and I love it in a game in my collection like that, especially when it's a worker placement game, because having an inviting worker placement game is something I love, because I love worker placement games. The more opportunities I have to bring people into that mechanic, that genre, I think is just great. And it holds up. I don't play very often, but when I do, it reminds me, this is an accessible game. I really enjoy it, and I really should try the expansion, because I haven't, just to see what they add on. Everett holds on to a spot on the list, number 48.
Ooh. Good wrap up. I still haven't played this, so I...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Okay, I'll have to bring it out one time. We're going to play games, because I feel like I'd be interested to see what you think of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been like 3 or 4 years since I've played it with you.
Yeah. We should all three. Maybe I'll bring it to the cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a good one.
Cool.
My number 48 game is a new entry. I'd like everything as to this list. Let's be real. But it is sitting, I think, right here. And that's Splendor Duel.
Ooh.
Splendor Duel. I've actually taken spoilers. I've taken Splendor off my list, and this has pretty much replaced it. I had to, the first time I played it, and it's been the only time, it's made that big of an impression for me. Immediately, I was drawn to it. Just the different changes, the way you pick up your gems on the board, and the different colors of gems, and the scrolls, and everything that it adds on top of Splendor now. Now, Splendor still, I think, you can start there and go with Splendor Duel. But I really, really enjoyed that interaction of like your choices become a lot more like you really, really matters, but you have a lot more effects that you can do and different win conditions to really make it juicy, if you will.
Juicy.
So yeah, Splendor Duel. I'm very impressed by this game and definitely want to get more plays with it for sure.
Yeah, Splendor Duel is, I feel the same way. Like I might play Splendor at some point, but I just feel like specifically if someone really wanted to play Splendor and it was going to be 3 and 4 players, obviously I would. But Splendor Duel, as like especially at the 2-player count, is just a better game in every regard. The multiple win conditions for it reminds you of Seven Wonders Duel, which I love, and yeah, everything they implemented, they just made Splendor better, which is awesome.
This guy's talking about it as if it's not higher up in his top 50. Save your comments for when you gush about this game higher in your 40 to 31 range.
All right.
Coming in at number 48 for me, dropping 18 spots, is Dominion. So this is a classic. I think it's still touted as the first deck building game ever. The main reason why it's dropping this much is that I just haven't played it in the past year. Or I think I might have tried the free Steam version, which just comes with the base set. And it's a game now that like just the base box of Dominion on its own just doesn't bring me enough satisfaction, because when they used to have the digital implementation online, or maybe they still have it, years ago I played it probably hundreds of times with the same group of 3 friends, and we just kind of played it to death. Love this game with expansions. I still think that in terms of like pure deck builders, when you compare it to other ones like, Hero Realms and Stardom, that kind of like game that doesn't have another, like a board or another element going on, I still think in terms of pure deck builders, it's the best one. And it's one that I would love to still play kind of any day, but it's just, you got to get the expansions out and pick what cards you want in the market. It's a bit more of an event, so it's just not getting to the table as much. This might be the last year it's on my top 50, we'll see, but I still love Dominion.
Have you played Dominion?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Just base set, or have you played any expansions?
I think just base. I played it online during the pandemic, I think.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. It was, yeah. I can respect it.
You got to play with Prosperity, Intrigue, and possibly Seaside.
Hey, you're
sorry. Fucking time police over here.
My number 47 is dropping spots. I don't think it's dropping too many spots, and that is Wingspan. Wingspan is still on this list, holding a spot. I still have lots of love and lots of respect for Wingspan, just because of how many people want to play board games specifically because of Wingspan. I dated someone who only ever wanted to play Wingspan, and I played more Wingspan while I was with that person than I ever did.
Did you point to yourself? You weren't the person you did.
I get like 5 seconds back.
That's right.
Wingspan is not only a really like beautiful game to look at and just like really, really pretty component wise and art wise, it is just a really solid like tableau type building game, or engine building game, I should say. I find that Wingspan more than other games sometimes has a bit of a hit or miss factor to me, and not miss, it's almost hit and not hit as much. Where a game will get certain birds or certain objectives where I'll be like, oh, that game wasn't as good, but when it hits in like fully as it's I think sort of intended to, I just always have really like a lot of fun with Wingspan. Everyone at the table seems to have a lot of fun with Wingspan, so it's a game that'll always probably be in my collection. I don't know if it'll hold on to the top 50 after this, but it's there right now, and that's number 47.
Some people, not me, but some people out there would potentially say that it's even more influential to the hobby than Settlers of Catan.
Some people might, yeah. And if you want to see who that person is, you should click on the video.
My number 47 is also wildlife themed, and I'm actually surprised it is as low as that I had it, but it still felt like it was a good place, and that game is Cascadia. Cascadia, the tile laying game with you've got different habitats that you're putting together, as well as animal tiles, and you're looking to score the animals in certain variable ways. This game, I loved it playing it 2, play it 3, 4, also great. It's just very chill. And that's what I really like about it, is you can just kind of, it's one of those games, it's very casual, but you really want to focus on it at the same time, right? To kind of get that puzzly aspect to it. So, yeah, not much more to say about Cascadia. I've really enjoyed it, and I will continue to enjoy it for years to come.
I love games that are relaxing, can be played casual, but also have that layer that allows them to be played deeper if you want to explore them deeper.
Yes.
Like I just like that's just a flexible board game, and that's such a great thing to have in a collection, I think.
Yeah, the solo mode's great too with the achievements and stuff. This is one that was in the same range for me last year, but slipped out of my top 50 this year. But it's a game that I think even if I don't play it that often, it's going to be one that will like have the legs long term to keep playing it year after year, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, number 47 on my list has dropped 8 spots. That is Ink and Gold, also known sometimes as Diamant. So Ink and Gold is one of my favorite push your luck games. It's one of the best games to accommodate like a varying player count. It's still, I think it plays 3 to 8. It's definitely better on the higher end. But because of the simultaneous play, and because even when you've gone out, when you're kind of like, basic thing is you're kind of like flipping these cards to see what you encounter in a temple, and there's gems that keep getting revealed and these hazards, and if you stay too long, you'll get kind of like killed or crushed or whatever by this hazard, and whoever ends up leaving early gets money. So like the game plays out differently every time, because you can have rounds where you stay in for a long time and get a lot of gems, or you can have rounds where everyone just crashes out like 2 or 3 cards in off the flop. So even when you've gone out and you watch other players, everyone feels invested. Everyone I've shown this to has always really enjoyed it, and it's just a game that, again, is not necessarily like my first or second choice, even at that player count, but every time it gets to the table or we play the digital version on Board Game Arena, it's always a blast to play. Ink and Gold.
Solid.
Yeah, I love Ink and Gold.
Solid gold.
So good. I might even have more to say about it later. Who's to say?
I might even have
I figured you might have
Triple crossover.
Hey, wait.
My number 46 was on my list last year, has dropped, and that is Fantasy Realms. Fantasy Realms I still love. I've actually played a new version of it, which is called Marvel Remix. Very, very similar. I still like the original Fantasy Realms better, though. And it's, I won't get into the reasons why. That might be a video in the future. But Fantasy Realms is very chill. It plays really quickly. And it's all about sort of like getting the best hand you can that'll score the most points by trying to find combinations of different fantasy cards. And some might be very direct, saying like search for this specific card, or if you have this specific card, it's worth this many points. Other ones will say it's worth, an extra 10 points per this type of card you have. A lot of it is a little bit luck-based, but because it plays so quickly and because it's like that for everyone, it never really bothers me. It's just sort of like a fun, chill, a funny game at times to be able to play. But when you kind of get that right combination of cards, when you're able to kind of get what you're searching for, or play it, almost like lie a little bit to be able to get someone to drop something so you can steal it or whatever, it is really, really satisfying. I love Fantasy Realms. I just don't play it enough, and I'm going to play it more hopefully this year. Number 46.
Yeah, I really like playing Fantasy Realms when we play it together.
Super fun.
And I'd be interested to see what you think of Red Rising.
Oh yeah, I really want to play Red Rising.
Yeah, I've got that, so we should play that.
Yeah, we should.
The only reason I think Fantasy Realms is in my top 50 is because the end game scoring feel is the least satisfying. Yeah, the app is good and it helps, but everyone just kind of like running the app and then being like, I got this many points.
Yeah,
It's kind of like,
I agree.
But great game.
Yeah, I agree.
My number 46 is Libertalia, Winds of Gale Crest. This is a game that I only played once, but again, is so good. And even though I think in one of your videos you mentioned my bad, unfortunate luck while playing this game, where I constantly got absolutely destroyed just from pure luck. But I think just that chance and like the happenstance, I can still remember that moment to this day, and I think that really speaks volumes about the game. You're placing down cards in a pirate ship, basically, and the different crews have different abilities. You get different tokens which can score you points, or take cards away, or kill crew members. However it works across the board. They've got 2 different sides to the board now, too, with the new version. Yep. I think it's a riot to play, 5-6 people, and it gets chaotic, which is amazing. And can work out in your favor or against you sometimes.
Or against you. Yep. It's just fun. That's what it is. It's just pure fun. Yeah. Just I based a lot of my. It's just fun. I'm not going to get into the reasons why. I'll have more to say about.
Oh wait, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised to see this on your list because I don't think I've ever heard you swear more while playing a game ever than playing Libertalia.
That is true.
And you had probably the worst luck I've ever seen anyone have in any game that one single time.
Wait till you play Captain Sonar with me.
All right, coming in at number 46 on my list. Ooh, there's going to be some groans here. Dropping 13 spots is A Feast for Odin. So still in my top 50, still an amazing game, still a game I will never turn down to play, but for some reason, someone at the table here never really suggests playing it, so we never really play it
Yeah,
together.
Braiden.
I got to play the Norwegians expansion for the first time earlier this year. I think it was back in January, and it definitely improved my thoughts on the game even more. The reason why it's dropped off, and you're going to see this happen with a lot of the Uwe Rosenberg games, is that I played a lot of new-to-me Uwe Rosenberg games this past year, and it has made me sort of reconsider all of my Uwe rankings, and it's made me just put in perspective more, like looking if I like one Uwe game a lot more than another. They've just kind of shifted. So there's been some Uwe games I've played that have been not as good as Feast for Odin, but there's been at least 2 that have snuck onto this list ahead of Feast for Odin, and has kind of been what's made it kind of slide back down the list a little bit. But great game. Love the kind of income tracks and the grabbing the extra, island boards and stuff. Fantastic game. A Feast for Odin.
I thought for sure because of our game with the Norwegians, it was going to like either stay at the same spot or move like a spot up. I'm very
Maybe if you would have advocated for playing it again since then, why has it been a year? It makes the game better.
I'll bring it to the cabin.
Yeah, I got to play with the Norwegians.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. I love it. All right, number 45. Is that where we're at? 45?
45.
No, you tell me.
Yeah, sorry. 45. Okay. My number 45, I don't think was on my list last year. And to be perfectly honest, I think it was because I, 1, either hadn't played enough, or 2, forgot about it. I don't know what the reason was, but I'm glad it squeaks on this year, and that is Voyages of Marco Polo. I've only ever played the digital version of this. I've never played the physical version. I don't think that that's really hindered my thoughts on it. If anything, it's probably the upkeep being done for you online has probably helped that a little bit, but I still would love it. It's one of the games I'd love to play physical. It's a worker placement style game, but it just has very interesting spots to go to. It has mechanics where certain spots demand more of your, dice worker placement, I should say, but it demands more of your dice or the die faces to be specific amounts, or if they're higher, they can actually accomplish more or go to certain spaces. It has ridiculous player powers. Or like powers you'll have like asymmetrically throughout the entire game that pretty much change the entire way you play the game depending on which power you get, which is super interesting. Every time I've played it, I've had a good experience, like a really good time. I haven't had a bad play of Voyages. I just haven't played it a whole ton. So it's one that I could see climb if I play more, if I get the physical version, and I'd also love to play the sequel just to kind of be able to compare them to see which one I like more.
I definitely like the first one more than the second. I have to ask you quickly, which is your favorite player power just in terms of pure fun?
The one that I've had the most, and I've had the most fun with each time, is the one that makes all your dice 6s all the time.
Or you can choose what the value is, because 6 isn't always the
ideal value.
Nice.
Yes. That one is just, I've had it like 3 times, and each time it just felt overpowered. Everyone
They all
feels
feel
overpowered.
like-
Yeah.
Have you played?
No, I haven't.
It's really
Let's
good.
play it sometime.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going to be saying that. Which is fair.
Let's play games. You guys like games, right?
Yeah.
You guys like
Out of here. My number 45 is Colorado. Colorado, the chameleon hop-colored game. Not hot-colored, but... I'll burn time laughing. I don't care.
What color is heart?
It's green, obviously, like the box art. Colorado, where you play chameleons into different hops, and you are forced to take a selection of cards to increase your score, hopefully, if you get a certain number of cards. But you want to maintain not getting too many of different colors of cards. You want to amplify the current color of cards you have. Super easy playing, very easy to get to the table, super easy to teach. Breezy, so easy. Rio can even play it. Like, amazing. That's a reference to our live stream, by the way.
She was
Part 3.
I love how much people are just like, you son of a... No, I can't believe you did...
I know,
How did you... Oh, I can't believe... When playing it, it's just great.
It's so simple to just screw over something.
Yep.
This is the second year in a row that Colorado, even with all the other new games being added on, has been in the 50 to 60 range of my list.
Shame.
And every time it misses, I'm like, this is gonna be the one that always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Always a 50 to 60, never a top 50.
For shame. For shame. Number 45 on my list, dropping 19 spots, is another Uwe game, Glass Road, which is here obviously just barely ahead of A Feast for Odin. Main reason this has dropped is I played it a couple times within the past year, and I've cooled on it just a little bit. And I think it's just because there's so many other games that have given me this like, oh my god, I love this game impression, that this one I still enjoyed, and the fact that it works, this is one of the best games in terms of like working probably almost equally well at all player counts. Like 1 to 4, it is like a solid, reliable game at any player count. I love the kind of aspect of which cards you pick before the round starts, trying to anticipate, you want unique cards that your opponents don't have, but you also want some cards that they do have so that you can play the max 5 cards rather than just 3, but you want to get both abilities off the cards. I love that aspect of the game, but the actual, like, which resources you spend on buildings and where you lay out your buildings on your board isn't super interesting. So I guess just, again, compared to other Uwe games over time, I've cooled on it a little bit, but still a great game I will never turn down playing.
You're a couple milliseconds over. I'll let it slide. Glassroot I haven't played in a while. I only have ever played Glassroot with you, and I think I've only ever played as a 2-player game.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it better at 3 or 4, or is it?
Probably. I just think there's a little more of that extra dynamic of anticipating who's playing which cards and also racing for the buildings that are out there. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind trying it at a different player.
For sure.
Just to
and
see.
It's so quick for an Uwe game that comes in a box like that. Like,
yeah,
under an hour.
Yeah. Shouldn't be above Feast Road, but it's fine. My number 44 is Just One. Just One was on my list last year. I think this has dropped a little bit. I think it was in my 30 to 40 range last year. I really love Just One. There's certain games where the only way I can describe it is that specific game or that type of game, I can never put it above certain other games on the list or move it up too high, because as much fun as I have with it, with other games, if I start to compare the fun level, I'm just like, yeah, but I would always choose this game over that. I would always choose this game over that. And that's where Just One kind of slides for me. But I will say that I have played it a lot this year. This is the year I probably played it the most. And it was really solid every time. In terms of like party type style game, group style games, icebreaker style games where people may have some people that are like uncomfortable with games or the group dynamic. They've always felt really good playing it. It's been a hit every time. My work team asks me to bring this anytime we're doing a work event. It is a really solid game. I just have lots of other games that I have a little bit more fun with. I will put above it if I have the right group to be able to play it.
So I can't tell if Dylan hates Just One more or if he hates you more. But the fact that you also left this off of your top 10 games for casual gamers video was
to be fair,
abomination.
I meant to say in that video, because there was a couple games I specifically didn't put in there. One was the original code names and one was Just One. Both of them because they get talked about so much that I wanted it to be like, here's some like options that don't include some of these really popular ones. But I forgot to mention, so it looks like I just fully snubbed Just One, which, Braiden cried himself to sleep that night. Is okay, he's gotten over it now. As
Multiple
you can see
nights.
here, he's gotten over it now. But Just One is still 44. It's still one of my top 44 games of all time. I think that's saying a lot. So
I don't know. I don't think you like it more than that's fine. Moving on. My number 44 is my first Uwe Rosenberg entry. Yes, correct. Wait, Uwe Rosenberg didn't do Captain Sonar?
no, unfortunately not.
This is Spring Meadow. Spring Meadow, a nice, light polyomino laying game. What I really loved about this game, actually, is the tile selection and the way that the board kind of changes and what's available to you. And how you're trying to build out your board and covering up the gopher holes and everything. Like, I think this was great. I loved Patchwork, and this was just like kind of like almost another different version of this in what some way or another, right? Yeah, I found out I really like polyomino games. But yeah, the tile selection, the way that the crossroad sign moves around and you're placing down these on your board, trying to build up and get solid lines and stuff. I thought that was great. It's fantastic. Really easy to get to the table. Easy to teach and fun to play. Thanks, Uwe.
And it's quick. I'm really happy to see this on your list. This was in my top 50 2 years ago. This is probably Uwe's most underrated game.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that when you win a round, you just get like the 1 point. You're not keeping track of points throughout the game. It's just the first to win 2 rounds wins. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
I will say that, I don't know if you noticed, but Braiden did say he loved Patchwork past tense. So are we going to see it not be on the top 50? Has the love died for Patchwork? Just throwing it out there. Time will tell.
More shots fired after Just One, eh? This guy just... I'm sorry for Dylan, what he's doing to you publicly on camera.
I look forward to seeing higher in your list. And mine.
Oh, yes, it's me now. Sorry.
Number 44.
Number 44, dropping 33 spots
hang on.
from number 11.
No, why did you do this? I know which game this is.
You do? I think this is the biggest drop of any game
How
for
did
me.
you drop this
Res Arcana.
I cannot believe this.
Okay, I love the draft, the building your little engine, finding ways to kind of win with sometimes only playing 1 or 2 cards and just combining them with the places of power and the monuments and all that stuff. I love all that. The reason this has dropped so much, there's a couple reasons. One, I continue to just like really not like what the dragons do to the game. I understand why they're there, because you have to have some way to slow down your opponents, and there's that trade-off of it's a heavy investment to play a dragon in order to slow people down, but I also don't find that enjoyable in the sense of like, even when it works out for me and it helps me win, I don't find that just slowing down my opponent's engine is like a fun thing. And the other thing is playing it in person. I had one game where I taught 2 new players, and to play a 3-player game with 2 new players took me almost an hour and a half. Maybe this is just like an indictment on those players and how slow they were. Maybe I need to play this more with people who are more experienced at it, because I still love a lot about it, but this game, my plays of it that weren't on BGA were just not as satisfying. I feel bad.
Yeah. This one hurts me so much. I don't know why, because I feel like Resurrected was your game for a while, and then I came into it later is the way I felt about it. But I hear what you're saying, though. Sometimes it is too long. Even online, it can sometimes take too long depending on the player. I will say that when you and me played it with the expansion, this is a while ago now, but I think it might have even been a year ago, we played it at your place in person for the first time in a while, and I had such a great time. I thought you did too, but I guess...
No, I didn't. That play was quick. Maybe I just need to play just one-on-one with you
just
more.
2 players,
I don't know.
yeah.
And it could bounce back in future years, higher up.
This is my shocker so far. I don't know if there'll be a bigger shocker than this. I thought I could see it dropping, but I did not expect it to drop that many spots.
I know. Wow. I feel bad. I'm sorry, Tom Lehman. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. And he's getting mad that you don't like the dragons. He gets mad at everyone who doesn't like the dragons.
If he comes into our comment section the way he's coming into BGG threads, look out. Look out.
Oh, no.
Shots fired.
I love you, Tom Lehman.
Yeah. Number 43 for me was on my list last year, and I think it was also in the 40 to 50 range, and that is Witchstone. Witchstone is still a great game. I haven't played enough. If I had played it a whole bunch more, it could have shifted either way more substantially, depending on what my thoughts were. But so far, every time I've come back to it, I just really, really enjoy it. I think that I love the puzzle of trying to put your like domino-style tiles together in the most efficient way. The fact that they even say in the rule book that this is the max number of combos you can get if you were able to place your dominoes in the like most efficient way possible is just a cool challenge to be like, how efficient can I be with how many actions I get by chaining actions together, because you want to try to link the same type of icon together. And then just the amount of stuff going on the main board, like depending on where you're spending your actions. The fact that you're moving gems on your personal board, you're like going through the ley lines on the main board, you're taking cards off the track over here, you're putting potions on the shelf over here. Like, I just love games that thematically have a lot of different places that you can kind of play in that playground. And I think Witchstone just kind of mirrors them all really, really well. So that's my number 43, Witchstone.
I'm surprised that this was still on your list. I actually don't know why.
Have you played it?
No, I haven't played it. No.
Okay. Witchstone is one we should play, because it's also one that as I've played it, I've recognized that like I even know that even though I love it, I think it's a divisive game. Like I think that from the people we've played with, the reactions have been kind of a little bit all over the spectrum. Yeah. And even just from the type of like mechanics that are involved, I could be like, I could see why, I can understand why people might not have it land as much as with them. But for some reason with me, I really enjoyed every play of it.
I'm about 99% sure this was also number 43 last year.
Oh, so it didn't move at all?
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
And secondly, do me a favor. Can you say the designer's name who co-designed this with Reiner Knizia, please?
Oh, yeah.
I love this.
This is Martino Cicciretti.
Better than every other time, but still not quite.
To be fair, I don't think I would be able to do that.
Oh, I'm glad I did that.
I'm so glad you did too. At this point, I just own that I can't pronounce anything, and I think it's one of those like just endearing qualities that people come to love about Dylann, right?
Yeah, absolutely, very endearing.
My number 43 is a game I don't think either of you have played.
Ooh.
You can tell me if you have or not, but this is Crosstalk. Crosstalk, a party game where you are where you are getting your partner to guess a hidden word, but in this case, you're playing on 2 teams, and that word is common between both of them. You're given the person who knows what the word is able to write a private clue to your team, and they have that private clue. Their team has their private clue. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you're subsequently giving public clues for your team to guess. So it may relate to your private clue, but the other team has that information now for them to base their guesses off as well. So really clever to kind of be, you know, a little bit shifty, maybe a little bit more ambiguous, but it kind of, you know, it tilts into that almost kind of like decrypto-esque, right? Where you're kind of trying to skirt around and kind of be a little bit hidden and be specific.
Yep.
Yeah, Crosstalk, a really solid party game, even just for 4.
Wow, 1 second over. Unbelievable. Just kidding.
Somebody stop.
I think you actually have described this game to me before, and I remember being intrigued when you said it last time. And I'm so glad we have Braiden on the channel, because I love party games, but I feel like it's not the one I gravitate to. It's not my favorite type of game.
Like just one.
Yeah. And I just love that, like, I think I can bank on discovering new games, or you've already heard them ahead of me just by asking you, or like looking at your collection, because you have games in your collection that I have, like Hues and Cues, that I saw there was like, oh, I've wanted to try this for a while, and I just haven't, you know, thought to pick it up myself, where other games take priority. So yeah, it's great.
True. All right, number 43 on my list has dropped 21 spots, mainly because I don't think I've played it once in the past year. That is Keyforge. So even though we got the new decks from the newest set and all that kind of stuff, and I think the main reason I haven't played it is because there's one main friend of mine who I've played this with a lot. Shout out to Patrice. We still have to play these new decks. And the only other person really that I ever played it with any form of regularity was you, and we haven't played a lot of 2-player games in general this past year, so maybe it's unfair to fault it, but I had to have it ahead of Res Arcana because the highs of Keyforge have been higher than Res Arcana for me. The aspect of getting that kind of unique deck and figuring out one play after another, whether it's like sometimes it's more fun to have the kind of David versus Goliath thing where you have a deck that you know doesn't work well, but when you find a way to actually beat like a Titan deck with this thing that just feels like garbage, but you found a way through it, it's so satisfying. I just love that aspect of cracking a new deck and the aspect of discovery in this game, and the fact that you can't just like go buy booster packs and craft the best deck like we used to do in Magic. Yeah, I just love Keyforge, and I hope to play it a lot more this year.
I assumed it was going to drop based on I haven't played it a lot, but I don't think I expect to drop this much. But I'm glad it's still on the list too, because this is also one I could see easily kind of regaining some spots back, just by you having played some of the new stuff and being able to like have more recent like experiences to go off of.
Yeah,
right?
I think it'll fluctuate a lot over the years, but yeah, I'll never turn down a game when other people are interested. You've got to try it.
Yeah, I'm excited to play it.
This guy went and got into Marvel Champions. That's why he doesn't play anymore.
All right, number 42 for me was definitely on my list last year. I think it's dropped a little bit. I think it was in the 30 to 40 range last year. That is Enchanted Plumes. Honestly, the only reason it's dropped is because I haven't played it recently, but it is a really, really solid game that I just kind of, I recalled my recent plays, or my most recent plays of it, even if they have been a while, and it is sort of one that I attribute to being like, if I played this as frequently as I played Lost Cities, for instance, I think I've said this before, I don't think it's too wild to say that it could replace Lost Cities for me, because it kind of scratches the same itch, but accommodates more players, which I really, really like. I don't know about fully replace that I would get rid of Lost Cities, but it's that kind of hand management style game where, you know, you have to constantly battle, what do I do with the cards in my hand? I want to keep some, but I can't keep them all. And then also there's the fact that you could have multiple plumes that you're playing to, kind of in the same way that Lost City has the multiple lanes, but this one has as many plumes as you want, and you can build them up as much as you want. It's just a really cool mechanic. You can kind of structure your strategy differently each game. You can go for lots of small plumes, you can go for a couple big plumes. I like games that offer that kind of variety. Great card game, really small, really simple, really cheap. You should check it out.
Is there any other game in board game where you talk about the fact that you can go for a couple small plumes or go for a couple big plumes?
Yep.
And it'll be coming up later.
Yeah. Stay tuned for pick number 28.
Yeah. I think I've only played this once with you when you first got it, and I loved it. I need to revisit it because this could maybe crack my top 50 one day too.
It's so good, yeah. And honestly, it's my own fault. I need to suggest it more, because no one, like, because it's an under the radar style game, not a lot of people are going to be like, oh, what about Enchanted Plumes? Like, I feel like I have to take the onus and do it. And I think a lot of people will be like, man, this is a really good game, because it is.
You're still getting those royalty checks in the mail, though, right?
Oh, yeah. 16 cents last month.
Amazing. Number 42 is my first entry from the good Dr. Reiner Knizia. This is High Society.
Nice.
High Society. A game where you are forced to spend money to be a part of society, but you can't spend too much, otherwise you get kicked out. We played this at 3-player, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the tension of bidding for certain cards to try and score, but also not spending too much and like not knowing whether you've spent too much or not until the very end. I think it's just like all of that tension is so great to put into the game. It's just a fantastic design. Such a great smallish box card game. It is small, yeah. It's just so well designed. I think I love that tension of like trying to figure out like, is this enough?
Yeah.
Or did I spend too much? God, and I think at even higher player counts, it's probably even better too. So High Society, number 40.
I was gonna say once you try with 4 or 5 a couple times, I think it'll go even higher up your list.
Yeah, such a good game. I haven't played it a lot, but every time I played it, I've loved it.
Number 42 on my list has moved. The first one in this video moving up 4 spots. Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation, my first Reiner Knizia game on the list. Excellent game. Basically a 2-player only version of well, I actually don't know if Stratego was only 2 players because I've never actually played Stratego, but it's basically Stratego but Lord of the Rings themed. And just as a throwback, it's Frodo and the gang against is it Saruman and his cronies? I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Not my words, J.R.R. Tolkien's words. Yeah, amazing game that it has so much like bluffing and mind games. I don't like. Yes, you're playing to win, but when I play this game now, I just try something totally different every time to just mess with my opponent. Like, you can try so many different things. You can try, what is it, the Knight Rider or whatever that just like flies across the map and just like challenges someone right away. It's super fun to do off the bat. Or try moving across like in a risky way with Frodo and Sam and hoping that they think, oh, like they're moving with like Gandalf or something. Like, such a fun game. I love it, and I could see this one continuing to move higher up my list.
I think this would have made my list if I had played it more, because I put it in the running and I actually got, I think it got pretty close. I think it was like in the 50 to 70 spots somewhere in there. And I realized that I just didn't have a lot of reference to go off of. If I had more, I think for sure it would probably live in the same spot as it lives for you in that like 40 to 50 bracket.
I think we played it once or twice like 2 years ago, and I don't think you've played it since. So yeah, I hope you do have it on the list in the future.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Dylan. I think I just need to play it more. I went and sought out my own copy of it, and I have my own copy of it.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. This used to be one of my Grail games. I'm so happy I have a copy. Oh yeah, thank you to Jeff and Jamie from Foster the Meeple for sending me that copy. So kind of you.
Last game for me on this particular video, just squeezing in at the 50 to 41 spot. I didn't think this game was going to make my top 50 this year. This is the first time it's appeared on the list. It's a game I played, I think, for the first time in this last year. If not, it was just barely in the last year. I played it more this year. But I love it more and more the more I play it, and I think it could grow on me more, and that is Veiled Fate. So Veiled Fate is one that I'm a big fan of hidden role, hidden influence type of games, but I like when they aren't just purely that. Like a game like One Night Ultimate Werewolf, I love it, but that's the only mechanic it's really offering. Veiled Fate combines it with sort of, I don't even know how to describe all the mechanics in it, but the fact that like no one knows which god you're trying to influence to win the game, and then you're able to move any of the players on the board, and so depending on which ones you move, you're like, oh, so you must be blue, or oh, you must be red. Like that kind of talk around the table, super fun. I really want to play the team version of the game, which is why I think it could even climb more, because the more I talk to people, the more they say that the team version of the game is actually even more fun, and I've already had a lot of fun at 3 players, at 4 players. I think we even played it at 5 one time. I can't remember now. But regardless, I've really not had a bad game of Veiled Fates. The more I thought about it, it deserves this spot on this list. And like I said, I think it'd climb more if I play the 6 and up player count.
Add it to the I gotta get it played count.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing it to the cabin for sure, because that's one that if we can play with 5 specifically, it would be nice. I mean, it's still one shy of 6, but either way, it's a great game.
I love the end game reveal.
I know, it's so great.
That's such a good part of the game. That's the best part of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
My number 41 game shouldn't even be on this list because it's A Feast for Odin.
Wow, both of you guys.
Just be happy it's on both of our lists. Get out of here.
You put John. Okay, don't even. Yeah, I don't need any time to describe A Feast for Odin. You guys know what it's about. The only caveat I'm going to give this is I haven't played the physical version of it. I've only played it on BGA, but I've really enjoyed it. The patchwork mechanics of A Feast for Odin. I mean, technically
they are. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yes, they do.
Covering your stuff, the different strategies you have available to you. I just would love to try it with Norwegians. So yeah,
it's better with Norwegians.
Number 41. but probably will go down from here.
My main question I have coming out of this now is Agricola still going to be on this list, or did Agricola not make the list?
What do you mean still going to be on? It was never on this in the first place.
Like he's going to be higher.
Yeah. Like,
Oh yeah, I was going to say I look forward to seeing how much higher Agricola is, so stay tuned for that. Number 41 on my list is a game that moved up one spot, and I think is the only game that has been spoken about by more than 2 people in the same video, maybe? Dylan already talked about Wavelength.
Oh.
Wavelength is amazing. One of the absolute go-to high player count games for me. Like anytime we have, let's say, 5 or more, usually 6, 7 is like, and up is the ideal range, but even 5 or more, it's in like the first 2 or 3 games I pull off the shelf. The only reason I don't take it more places is because the box is pretty huge. I will say I don't know how I would feel about playing the digital version that Dylan has mentioned, only because of the everyone has to be looking at their phones kind of thing. I love the device and having people's hands being like, no, turn that thing, and I've seen people turn the little thing. I also just find the aspect of trying to kind of give the clue and then also sitting there sort of in agony trying to conceal your reaction while everyone goes back and forth and you're like, you had it on the spot as if so-and-so just convinced you to change the thing. Like, oh, such great discussions. I love this game and it will never leave my collection.
The only thing I'll say to it is, like, I am almost never will be the one saying, oh, the digital version is the better version. I'd almost always rather have the physical thing. The 2 reasons is, one, like you said, the box. Like, I was traveling to BC. There was no way I could have packed the game, and I was able to play it with 5 people, and I otherwise normally wouldn't have. And 2, everyone is looking at their phones, but only because the dial is on everyone's phones. And if I move the dial on my phone, it moves on everyone else's phone. So everyone starts fighting over the dial on their phones. And otherwise, it was still a discussion. Honestly, I was really impressed by the digital implementation. And I can't remember a board game coming along where the digital, aside maybe from BGA, but like an official digital implementation where I was like, oh, yeah, that's like almost as good as the original or as good. And this is the first one I thought, like, damn, like, I don't know that I would buy Wavelength because I bought a bunch of packs on the phone. I could just play that by taking just my phone on the plane, right? But yeah, I still think there is something about turning that physical thing and the reveal that is special.
Yeah. But that's all fair points. I shouldn't knock till I try it. Not only is the box huge, but it's an expensive game too. It's like $50 for a party game, which is on the higher end.
But you'll get enough mileage out of it that like the $50 probably after, like, you know, a few months of owning it won't feel like a stretch. But it still is expensive.
Mileage or dialage?
Dialage. Damn, I like that.
This guy's sharp today.
That is our 50 to 41. As we mentioned at the start of the video, in 2 days' time, you'll be able to see our 40 to 31, and we'll keep doing that every 2 days. So if you're curious what else is going to be on our list, if you're curious to see Carlo's reaction when he realizes slowly over time that Agricola is not going to be on Braiden's list, you can see the deterioration go as we go through these videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. You guys have anything you want to add before we go? Feel free to leave in the comments below predictions on where you think other games are going to end up on the future videos, or what you think about the games that are on this one. Any thoughts whatsoever, we'll engage with you as much as we can over the holidays.
And in case you skipped the intro or missed it, we do have a predictions video that we just filmed moments before filming this one, where we predict each other's top 50 lists. So if you want to see that, check out our Patreon.
Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.